dengar lagu. Identity center tak ada malam ni. Kita buat basic, simple je. Mostly target for newbies lah. Basic IAM users, IAM groups, lepas tu IAM roles, and then like how we nak pakai IAM roles tu dengan EC2 pakai instance profile. Tu je. By the way, aku ada macam buat write up sikit lah kalau nak follow along ke, ada account di AWS sendiri ke, ataupun just for reference later, ada dalam link tu. Aku dah prepare. I think yeah, just start now, I guess. Okay, thank you everyone joining. So malam ni kita akan buat uh, a bit of introduction lah. It's more like a beginner level. Kalau like just started using AWS, malam ni kita akan like discuss a bit, like belajar a bit like how macam mana nak pakai IAM lah. IAM which is let's see here. So yeah, IAM is essentially the so mana-mana cloud dia akan ada their own version of IAM, which is identity and access control. So the main goal of IAM is to provide like user nak control lah who can do what it can do, apa benda yang dia tak boleh buat, apa benda yang boleh buat kan. So to control the access permission, so yeah, and then for malam ni kita akan tengok kat AWS. Specifically, aku ada macam, so earlier aku plan nak buat macam theory based, tapi I think it's probably a bit boring and then ni pun dah lewat sikit. So malam ni aku akan macam, it's more like gonna be a practical demo, macam mana nak first run your application yang akan call to AWS API, and then kita akan control the application punya permission pakai IAM, and then we proceed to move to how to deploy the application, not how to deploy the application, tapi macam how to control the application permission when bila kita pakai EC2 untuk run. Okay, so for this for tonight, aku ada in the chat akan ada link to my repo yang aku pakai malam ni, so can follow lah kalau just as a reference, lepas ni boleh pakai. So aku dalam repo tu aku ada satu application main.go, Go application. Aku pilih Go sebab nanti senang bila aku nak deploy to EC2 nanti. It's just a binary. So dalam application ni is just a simple application. It's mainly the main goal of this application aku buat is just nak tunjuk example and application yang call to AWS API pakai AWS SDK. So dalam application ni ada aku set up AWS session, and then after that akan call to S3 API, and then akan list all the S3 buckets yang ada dalam account AWS aku lah. Wait, sekejap. Sebelum tu saya login sekejap. Right. So yeah, I think let's start. It's too small. Yep. Terminal. Okay. So to start, aku akan try run application aku. Tadi aku ada kat sini dalam application Mango yang akan call to AWS SDK untuk list out all the S3 bucket. Okay, sekarang ni aku tak ada set up any credential yet, and then this the error yang aku dapat lah. So this is the first thing that we learn here. Kita akan to go to the error, fail to get caller identity, no credential providers. So in AWS, especially in AWS SDK, there's this thing called a credential provider chain.
Kau share sikit?
Yep. Oh wait, sorry, tadi dah share. Uh, Oops, sorry. Tadi the ni. Okay, nampak kan? Okay,
Nampak.
alright. So, light team. Okay, again, start again. So ni aku ada application aku tadi, S3. Dia akan list all the S3 buckets in my account. And then sekarang aku akan run aku punya Go application. So, macam tadi, run. Now aku dapat error sebab aku tak set up any AWS IAM credential yet. So sini I guess the first lesson here like I want to show is like AWS bila pakai AWS SDK there's this thing called AWS credential provider. Let me see my notes. Credential provider chain. So what this will do, AWS SDK dia ada certain dia is smart enough lah, I can say. Dia smart enough, dia akan go through dia akan check a few places for your AWS credential. And then the first place yang dia akan check adalah AWS access key. So AWS access key is like when you have a user, boleh create access key, akan give you this AWS access key ID and then the AWS secret access key. And then there's other ways you can get the credential lah. Dia macam container credential kalau run kat EKS dia akan ada cara dia, kalau run kat EC2 which kita akan tengok nanti, ada cara dia juga untuk mendapatkan credential tu. So first kita akan start dengan access key lah. So, AWS access key, dia adalah bila kita pakai IAM user. So this is the first thing and concept in IAM which is users. Dalam AWS IAM kita akan ada IAM users, maknanya dalam IAM users ni biasanya kita pakai untuk kita boleh pakai untuk anything. For our application pun boleh pakai IAM user actually, but it's not really recommended, and I'll show you later like how a better way to do it using roles. Tapi for starters, kita akan start dengan pakai IAM user je lah. So let's do this. Aku ada Terraform. Oops, Terraform code sini untuk create user. So let me just create a user first. Oh, by the way, sorry. Aku akan pakai Terraform untuk create AWS resources, tapi just for convenience sake nanti nak delete balik. Tapi nanti aku akan tunjuk lah cara how would you do it manually. Okay. So aku baru create IAM user just now. Kita akan tengok kat sini. Nak convert team. Dark team. Okay lah, default dark team. So aku dah ada create IAM user just now, pokgak. And then this IAM user kalau nak create from the console boleh create kat sini lah, create user dan give the user username. Tapi aku create pakai Terraform. And then but tadi kita nak try authenticate locally pakai IAM user, so kita akan pakai access key macam aku tunjuk tadi, access key. So kita akan create one access key first. Okay, create access key pakai untuk run local code. Everything's good. And then when locally boleh run AWS configure lah untuk set up the user locally. So key sub okay. Now this one kita akan boleh test if our punya access key tu function tak. Okay, now bila aku call AWS STS got color identity, dia akan give me the current user that I'm using lah. So kalau aku pakai IAM user, nama pokgak. Okay, so that's how. Okay, so now terminal. Now aku akan run balik aku punya application tadi. Alright. There's two parts to this. The first part ni macam tadi yang AWS access caller identity, kita dah ada tak dapat error dalam part tu, kita dapat identify ourselves as a user here. Tapi dia still fail untuk list S3 bucket dapat access denied. So this is the next I think the next lesson here is that fail to list AWS S3 bucket access denied. So in dalam AWS IAM by default kalau kita tak grant any permission dekat user ke anything, dia akan deny all actions. So by default is to deny. Macam kalau kita tak allow, tak ada explicit allow, dia tak akan dapat apa-apa. So for that kita akan first kita akan grant the permission to the user lah. Aku ada Terraform code kat sini. First, so okay. To grant application to the user, there are two things yang kita kita kena buat. First, kita kena create AWS IAM policy. Kat sini aku ada create AWS IAM policy yang allow the permission untuk list S3 bucket. So let's go a bit like what's the structure of AWS IAM policy. So in IAM policy document and statement, dia akan ada biasanya ada two, at least minimum two lah. So first is the action yang mana kita nak allow action apa untuk buat ni. Coba cakap aku sini S3 list all my buckets. Untuk setiap AWS service dia ada dia punya action sendiri. Contoh kalau cara biasa kalau aku nak Google, aku buat macam ni lah, AWS S3 IAM actions. So biasanya akan ada the first one ni actions, resources and conditions for Amazon S3. Kat sini dia akan list banyak a lot of the actions yang available untuk kita grant and allow lah. So dan tadi aku ada apa? List all my buckets. So list all my buckets dekat sini. So itulah. Just so and then the next step is for the resources. Dalam IAM, maybe it's easy. Okay. Where is it? Dalam IAM policy document biasanya kita akan specify also resource mana, tapi kat sini aku tak kisah mana resource, so aku akan pakai star kat sini which is allow all the resources. So let me create the policy first and then grant to the user pakai Terraform ni. Okay. Siap. Ah. Ya, ada soalan. Go program tu baca .aws credentials ke? Ya, sebab aku pakai AWS SDK, dia automatically akan cari the credentials at a couple places and one of the places is the first thing is dia akan cari dekat itulah the .aws credentials tu pakai cari for access key. Okay. So aku dah create policy, so kita akan tengok policy tu macam mana bila dah create. AWS and policies, list. Yang aku baru create tadi, list S3 bucket. And then kita try tengok just so this is how it looks like the policy bila dah created. Dia ada 3 benda ni. Satu action, S3 macam aku tadi, effect tertunjuk by default kita is allow lah. Tapi another value here boleh letak deny. So kita akan explicitly deny apa benda untuk buat semua resource ni, tapi sini kita allow and the resources all. Version is just for AWS punya version. So biasanya is dia punya macam ada policy punya spec punya version. So kita akan just pakai the default which is right now is 2020 12 10 17 lah. Tak payah tukar. Okay. Aku dah create policy and then tadi dekat user aku dah grant the policy dekat user tu untuk list S3 bucket. And now maknanya sekarang kita bila aku run balik command Oops, sorry. It should be able to list the S3 bucket yang aku ada lah sekarang. So yeah, that's the first thing bila pakai AWS. Tadi aku dah tunjuk, aku dah tunjuk cara untuk pakai IAM user untuk run anything call the AWS API. And then kita dah tengok also like how we create a policy and then how we attach the policy to the users lah. Macam kat sini, oh sorry, tadi aku pakai Terraform and attach, other way you can attach policy is pergi kat user ni, choose the user itself, and then kita boleh add the permission to the user. Kat sini lah attach a policy user to group or attach policies directly. So macam tadi aku dah attach policy directly. Tapi the next step aku akan tunjuk how kita akan manage the permissions by using AWS groups. So user groups. So the next thing is user group is user group is another way to manage your IAM users. So essentially boleh anggap ni macam kat sini, a user group is a collection of IAM users used to specify permissions for a collection of users. So maknanya kalau kita ada more than one user, nak manage permission for the users, biasanya kalau nak attach the permission kat sini one by one, dia macam macam banyak kerja kan, nak kena attach one by one. So one way you can do that is to use user group. So bila kita pakai user group, kita attach the permission to the group and then all the users inside that group will inherit the permission. So kita tak payah nak attach one by one anymore. So yeah, let's do that. So let's say kita ada kat sini more than one user. Macam aku ada create sini another user Nazan. And then aku create group. Kat sini aku create developers group. Developers group. And then kita add to the group. Kat sini user membership, pokgak and Azad into the same group, developers. And then dekat group tu, yeah, let's dekat group tu aku, okay, let's do this step by step. So jadi let's apply first, aku create group, and then aku create users, add users to the group. Okay, user group, dah ada group developer sekarang. Azam pokgak. Tapi kat sini aku tak attach permission lagi. So kalau maknanya bila kalau kita buat, aku try to access the pakai, let's say aku pakai user Nazhan ni, aku tunjuk and then create security credential, access key. Let's configure again. Let's configure. Okay, AWS nanti. So sekarang aku pakai user Nazhan. Tapi dekat user Nazhan tu aku tak ada create any, aku tak ada grant permission to the user directly. Tapi kita akan tengok. Okay, sekarang ni aku tak ada grant permission to the group yet. So maknanya bila aku try run the application, dia akan fail lah. Akan cakap kita pakai user Nazhan, tapi sebab tak ada permission grant to the user directly or to the group yet, dia akan access denied. Okay, so let's go to the next step. Kita akan grant the permission to list S3 bucket to the group. So aku grant permission sini. Right, now let's see. Aku dah grant permission and list S3 bucket to the group just now. And then dekat user Nazhan tu still tak ada permission attach directly ya. Okay. So dekat sini dia cakap attach via group developers, sebab aku dah attach melalui group. So dia akan show kat sini lah. Tapi aku tak attach to the user directly. So bila aku run command tu again, under my application, we'll see yang sekarang ni okay, we successfully successfully call the API lah. So that's another way you can manage your um, user permission, which is to use groups. So tadi kita dah add user to pokgak and Azan to the group, and then kita attach policy to the group, and then all the user inside that group akan inherit the policy lah. Macam tadi dia tunjuk kat sini, user group again, developer. Tengok kat user Nazan, dia cakap attached via group developers. So that's how we managing it. Yeah. So that's first two ways how you can manage your permission using groups lah. Okay, and then the next one kita akan tengok pasal user nak pakai. Sekejap, any questions maybe? Okay. Boleh bagi akses, ada question soalan, boleh bagi akses based on time and date ke? Contoh sehari je, lepas sehari tu semua akses. Okay, so yeah, this is actually a good question. Kalau kita pakai AWS panggil apa, AWS users and then pakai access key, tak boleh. So sebab users ni dipanggil as one of the things, dia panggil as static credentials. Maknanya kalau credential tu dah kita bagi kat orang tu, unless kita revoke the credential manually, dia tak ada automatic revoke of the credentials. So that's one of the disadvantages of pakai IAM users whenever we do anything lah. So the next step nanti aku akan tunjuk cara kita pakai AWS IAM roles, and then as part of IAM role, dia actually ada one of the features is to grant the maximum allowed time for the session. So by default dia akan jadi 1 jam. So every time kita nak run anything, dia akan generate a token, and then that token is valid only for 1 hour. Tapi if need more than 1 hour, then kalau pakai SDK, it will automatically generate a new token for you lah. So no need to think about it. So that's one of the ways we can do it pakai yang automatic terminate lah. Tapi I think the maximum hour you can put is 8 hours only, if I'm not mistaken. So kalau nak more than that, probably need to have some kind of automation outside of AWS punya lah, buat sendiri lah. Okay, so next kita akan go through authenticating using roles. So usually bila kita nak run application, ideally kita tak nak pakai, macam aku cakap tadi, kita tak nak pakai AWS IAM user for the application. One of the roles is because sebab bila IAM user tu static credential, let's say the credentials get leaked anywhere, and then suddenly kita, sebab credential tu valid for a long period of time lah. So bila dia leak nanti is either in one of choice you can have is to revoke the IAM user key lah. Tapi that one can be like be dangerous kalau pakai. Macam mana? Sorry. So one of the ways to do it is that usually services kalau nak run, contoh one service should have their own rules in the application in AWS. So the next one kita akan tengok macam mana kita nak pakai role, first create the roles, and then after kita dah create the role, kita nak as a local user, how can we assume the role. So aku ada create roles kat sini. Just create the role first. So aku ada create role test service. And then sini, okay, ni aku create dulu, nanti aku explain. Okay, into role test diskette. IAM role test service. This is one, and then 100 group itself. Okay, let's just do this first. Right. Okay, aku ada create role. So test service. ARN kat sini. So dekat role in this actually bila kita nak control permission who kat roles ni, kita panggil contoh bila local user dia nak act as a role, kita panggil the term is usually assuming a role. So assume role, But untuk assume the role tu, first on the role side kita kena configure a thing called trust relationship. So kat sini aku dah configure, this is for one of the AWS safety features lah, I would say. So there's two side. Okay, sekejap aku think ada sekali draw. Yeah. So besar sikit. Okay. So there are two sites yang kita kena configure bila kita nak allow a user, kat sini user pokgak to assume a role test service. So first yang aku tunjuk tadi is trust relationship. So trust relationship essentially dia nak answer the question who is allowed to assume this role. Siapa yang dibenarkan assume this role. So this on the role side, tapi kita also need to configure it on the user side, which is nak on the user permission itself kita kena allow STS assume role to that role. So this on the user side essentially kita nak answer the question which role the user can assume lah. So one is role siapa yang allowed to assume this role, and then on the user side which role dia akan assume. So when both sides dah configure the users properly, I think, and then only you can assume the role. I think bila masa aku mula-mula belajar AWS IAM dulu, I think this is one of the part yang aku agak confused lah. Especially difficult sikit nak faham sebab aku dah configure kat user ni, aku cakap kat user aku dah allow assume tapi tiba-tiba dia tak bagi. So what I'm missing is on the trust relationship part lah. So kita akan tunjuk macam mana example bila dia tak allow user to assume lah. Wait, aku kena edit. Yalah, sini. Nampak nanti aku revoke lah. So sini test service. Ni is one of the ways you can configure your default. Let's go. Okay, sekarang ni dia masih pakai user Nazahan tadi. Tapi dekat role user Nazahan ni aku dah allow one side lah. Aku dah allow kat trust relationship untuk assume the role. So let's see kita boleh assume ke tak. So, sini aku pakai AWS profile test service. Alright. So sekarang ni yeah. Wait, wow, interesting. Assume role, aku dah berjaya assume the role. Let me check first. I think I did something. Permission. Okay. Okay, no wonder. So aku dah allow the user assume the role, tapi the still fail to deny. Okay, this is actually unexpected. Aku ingat patutnya aku expect dia dapat error kat sini sebab aku tak configure on the users on the group side yet, like yang dia boleh assume the role. Kat sini, let me just try first something. Group membership. Ni kat sini actually, this is what I'm gonna do. Assume role. Yeah. Meeting. Update the policy. So kat sini aku allow the STS assume role to this test service just now. So if I run the application again, no, run, sorry. Okay, wait, this is still run as a user. Yeah, it's the same. Okay, apparently kita assume. So kita dah berjaya assume the role. So macam mana aku buat tadi is like aku kena configure both sided lah. So first actually that's a bit weird. Configure STS assume role on the macam tadi aku dah ada group untuk allow aku assign this create this policy untuk allow on the user side. Macam tadi aku allow on the user side to assume the role, and then on the role side itself aku dah configure trust relationship untuk allow these two users can assume this role. Yeah. Okay. Tapi dekat role itself aku tak grant the permission lagi tadi. So that's why bila aku run the application aku dapat error ni lah, access denied. So yeah, let's go to the role and then grant the role the permission lah. Sini test. Yeah. Right. Now the role itself has the permission to list the S3 bucket. So bila aku run, yep. Now kita boleh list the S3 bucket lah. So the role, so kat sini the caller identity is the service itself instead of the user. So kita nampak di sini, this is the user is identified as assume role as test service. Yeah, and then yeah. So that's it for the role. How do we assume role locally? Yeah, okay. Sorry, maybe I can explain sikit sini. So tadi aku dah configure this part. So kat sini usually bila kita nak run the application locally, kita kena bagi tahu AWS how to, there's a concept called profile lah. So kat sini profile. So nampak tadi kan bila aku run the application aku specify the profile manually. So AWS profile task service, and then that profile aku actually configure dalam AWS credential aku tadi, and then source profile is default sebab default is the bila kita run AWS configure dia akan configure as default kat sini, default profile. So aku create ni, and then for the test service, to do that, for the test service profile aku configure it as to read from the default and then try to assume this role test service. So this is one of the way lah. So AWS profile kat sini pun, this is kalau normal application, kalau tak pakai AWS SDK dia tak boleh detect. Tapi bila pakai AWS SDK, macam aku buat dalam application aku ni, aku Go semua ni pakai AWS SDK and call to AWS SDK, dia akan automatically find read this environment variables and then try to read the config from AWS config lah. So that's one way you can assume the role locally using your AWS config file. So I think there's that part. Any questions on that? Okay. Yes, soalan daripada just curious macam mana orang grant permission untuk cross account AWS lain. So essentially kalau cross account, bila kita dah faham macam mana orang grant roles, permission for roles, is the same thing for cross account also. So dekat trust relationship ni sekarang ni aku configure a user dalam account 05, which is my current account lah. So aku configure the user, configure the user from my same account. Tapi contoh bila aku nak usually kalau cross account dia akan user, aku try kat sini lah. Sekejap sikit. So kalau cross account, let me see if I can try to draw that. So this is account A, and then I have another account B. Okay. So bila usually dalam cross account both side kita kena pakai roles lah. Oops. Okay. Row from account A. B. So kat sini bila kita nak buat cross account, usually from the let's say our goal is to have this account, a role from account B to assume this test service role. So kalau nak buat macam tu, biasanya kita akan create a role from account B first, and then dekat dalam the permission untuk account B, kita akan configure dia untuk allow STS assume role macam aku allow dekat developer ni tadi. So this kind of policy. Let me see STS one. So the same thing, STS assume role, tapi kat sini kita akan define di sini account number is a account number from a different account lah. And then the role name. So kat sini contoh kalau let's say sekali draw, so dia akan STS assume role account number this. Sini account number account B is different lah. And then kita akan allow dia to assume role macam tu lah. So kita allow macam tu. Yeah. So that's how you allow it. And then also macam kita lagi kena ada trust relationship also. So trust relationship, so there's a two way lah. From the account B itself, kita nak allow STS assume role, and then from account A, kita kena configure the service role trust relationship, kita kena tambah kat sini. Contoh, it will be something like a bit different. So let's say this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is the rule from account B. Rule from account B. So yeah, this is how you do it lah. I think if I'm not mistaken, there are lah. So essentially you allow it like this. Or there's also another way, shortcut lah. So shortcut macam kalau kita nak configure by role, kita akan boleh buat something like that. So dipanggil root. So kita specify the account name and then root. So kat situ kita allow all the principals or the entities daripada account B tadi untuk assume this service role. And then how we control it from the account B is we control from the permission on the account B itself lah. So bila kita allow root, dia akan allow macam trust everything from there lah. Okay. Soalan nombor sikit. Boleh ke entities outside of AWS other than users untuk assume the role? That's a good question. So that's one example actually untuk ni. So but generally boleh, tapi macam in special cases only. I think there needs to be both entities need to have this kind of OIDC. One way I know yang aku tahu untuk buat adalah pakai OIDC lah. So one way to do this, yang example is GitHub Actions AWS OIDC. So this is one way yang entity outside of AWS can assume a role inside AWS. So kalau siapa yang pernah configure AWS OIDC untuk GitHub Action Steps, so essentially kita allow from your GitHub Action CI/CD, kita boleh assume a role for that pipeline run. So yeah, this is quite cool lah. So yeah, technically boleh, tapi bukan, I think lah, based on my understanding, need to be done on the platform level first. Like for example kat sini GitHub dah configure something to enable this role assumption. So kalau kita sendiri nak buat, aku tak pasti, aku rasa tak boleh lah. So need to have that support on the platform itself first. Another question, macam mana TF apply tu tahu untuk apply for your, okay. Aku tak explain benda ni tadi sebab just don't want to complicate it. Ya, tapi betul lah dia ikut provider. Yep. Tadi aku pakai sini, aku pakai profile pokgak prod So kat sini is just a profile pointing to the SSO service and everything lah. So yeah. Okay, so I think the next part of this like today, malam ni, aku nak tunjuk, tadi kita dah tunjuk macam mana kita nak assume a role locally kan. Tapi bila kita nak deploy the application, in this case kita nak deploy to EC2, macam mana kita nak configure EC2 tu so that dia boleh assume that role. So the easiest way probably kita boleh pakai the same way yang kita dah pakai tadi, which is usually orang akan pakai access key. Dia akan create access key untuk application tu, lepas tu dia deploy to EC2, dia letak access key dalam EC2 lah. That's is a valid way. There's one way to do it, tapi I would say it's not the best way to do it, sebab macam aku cakap tadi, one of the disadvantages of pakai AWS access key is that access key tu sebab dia static credential, let's say your EC2 access is vulnerable lah, orang dah masuk dalam tu, so they can get the access key and then they can use it to hack other stuff lah, to get access to other resources. So the better way to do it is to use AWS access, AWS roles. Tapi kita allow, kita pakai, there's one thing called instance profile. Kita allow the EC2 instance itself to create, to assume the role on the EC2 instance level. So yeah, aku akan tunjuk macam mana. Tapi sebelum tu aku kena create this EC2 instance first. So EC2 instance. Policy provider. I think that's it. Should be it. All right. Yeah, bye. Yeah. So it will take some time. Meanwhile, let's see. Kejap. No. Right. So kat sini aku configure just for easier nak masuk SSH nanti. Tinggal SSH config. Dah. Ya. So sini aku boleh buat SSH test server. And amin. Alright. So sekarang ni aku akan, first aku akan get my application inside there first lah. Ya. Tapi sebelum tu kena build dulu. Me don't have it here. Yes. Kena build dulu application ni for Linux. Test app Linux, nice. And then kita push this to the server. Done. Okay. SSH test server. Sekarang, oops. Tengok, dah ada. And then let's try run. So sekarang ni aku ada EC2 server, tapi aku tak configure anything yet. Aku tak configure AWS macam AWS, tak ada pun AWS folder kat sini. Aku tak figure instance profile anything. So let's try run the application. So ni error macam kita dapat tadi lah. So bila AWS SDK tu tak boleh nak tak jumpa mana anything yang boleh pakai sebagai AWS credential lah. So macam aku cakap tadi, one way is you can create, can put SSH, not SSH, access key dalam instance ni. Tapi kali ni kita akan try is kita akan pakai one thing called AWS instance profile. So another way is that usually instance profile is essentially kita attach a role to the instance directly. So one way you can do this pakai kat sini is this way lah. So this kalau buat manually, okay, tapi dia tak ada kat sini. Essentially dia akan attach the role to the EC2 instance. So kat sini aku akan pakai instance profile. So aku akan create the instance profile. And then kan instance profile ni aku ada define yang dia boleh assume role test service yang aku cakap tadi. And then also on the trust relationship, kita kena letak yang this row, sebab this is special lah, sebab tadi kita user yang allow assume this row, right? So now kita akan allow EC2 service untuk assume this row so that dia boleh pakai dengan instance profile. So yeah, let's do that. And do this terraform, yeah, bye. Alright. So now kalau kita pergi sini, let me just refresh this a bit. Oh, sorry. Lupa. This. So tadi ni oops, ni. Okay, sekarang ni dia tak ada rules. Okay, baru attach. Sekarang ni bila kita tengok sini, the rule is already attached to the instance EC2 instance lah. So now kalau aku pergi SSH test server, aku run this. Not sure this is possible. Yes, can authenticate. Oh, nice. Yeah, kita nampak yang kita dah boleh assume this. It's already automatically assume lah. Macam tadi aku tak payah specify AWS profile ke anything. Sebab by default dekat instance ni dia akan kita dah configure tadi, dia akan assume this row. So bila aku run the application, now we jaga lah. Kita dah assume this row and then kita ada all the permissions that the row itself have. Row macam tadi tunjuk sikit test service. Aku configure the trust relationship untuk allow EC2 to assume the role lah. So that's it. No, yeah, that's it for like the demo lah. So maybe a bit background on how bila EC2 ni dia boleh assume a role. So kalau kita go back to yang macam tadi mula-mula one of the earlier aku tunjuk tadi, default credential provider chain. Kita dah tengok dekat AWS key kan. But then on the last part of it is IMDS credential provider. So bila kita baca kat sini, IMDS credential provider ni essentially is for EC2 lah. EC2 instance profile credential associate and RM role with each of your EC2 instance. So automatically bila tu dia akan create temporary credential for the role, and then credentials are delivered to this EC2 IMDS lah. So IMDS service usually all EC2 instances have, if I'm not mistaken, this IMDS services. IMDS endpoint EC2. So let me just show you something. In fact, I think kita boleh just query pakai curl. So this is the endpoint. Bila ada run dekat tu, kali. Unauthorized. Yeah, okay. So tak boleh lah. Tapi it is accessible lah actually. Let's try this. Look at. Nice. Nah, sama aja. So so this is essentially what enables macam the EC2 to assume lah. So this service is running in the background. Can provide all those things. This metadata is actually kalau some of it kita boleh pakai. This is endpoint info. Kat sini instance, IAM profile. So there's a lot more this metadata service boleh buat actually. Tapi one yang in our case is we are using it to assume the role lah. And that's it actually. So dalam kelas ni it will be a simple one lah. I think for mostly targeting beginners. I hope you learn something or two about this. Summary apa yang kita dah boleh buat, kita buat malam ni. First kita start look into how you can create IAM user and then use IAM user to access your AWS resources. And then kita dah tengok macam mana kita nak use groups, and then also kita create roles and then manage the users using the groups to allow them to assume the roles. And then kita tengok macam how do we can attach the role to the EC2 instance using instance profile and then run our application from there lah. So Ya, soalan. Tengok Dolphin Magic. In this case, AWS SDK cari cracks tu dekat mana? AWS detect somewhere in the instance ke? Yes. So ni macam aku explain tadi lah. AWS actually letak dekat IMDS service tu, dekat instance profile tu. Aku tak pasti kat mana tapi it's somewhere there lah. You can get. Sebab AWS get tu they write the credential somewhere juga. Aku rasa dia tak write the credential somewhere. So macam kalau aku tengok kat sini, dalam ni, kita if I'm not mistaken, there's no AWS folder. So dia tak ada write pun anywhere. So I think it's just automatically will call through the EC2 instance metadata endpoint. Yes. This one lah yang aku tunjuk tadi. So dia akan expose this instance metadata to the endpoint and then call it. That's it. So actually, there are some, aku pernah baca some, is it security concerns lah. Sebab macam essentially all, kalau macam bila kau boleh access to the instance, macam kau boleh access to the metadata, right? Tapi aku rasa sebab ni dia kena macam kau tengok sini, let me break it down to multiple lines. So dia coupled to that, then tak boleh lah. Let me see what it's doing here. Token call put yeah. So untuk call instance metadata tu dia kena dapatkan token first. And then bila kita nak access this endpoint kena ada token tu lah. So but it might macam contoh kalau nak fikir kan, tiba-tiba can get access inside the instance and then if anyone can just call this API. So essentially does that mean that our token also like leak? So in a way I think it might be, tapi sebab kita pakai token kat sini, I think it refers to a temporary token lah. So kat sini TTL kan. Aku pun tak tahu sangat pasal how this IMDS works. Tapi that's also actually bila aku baca that's one of the ways yang kalau nak secure this instance kena modify something pasal IMDS ni ke. Like who can access it, how many hops, something like that. Yeah. Any other questions? If not, I think that's it lah. I mean, it's around nak hampir 11:30. So thank you everyone for joining. So a bit basic, I guess, but hopefully someone can learn a bit, a thing or two. Dah habis dah Udin. Basic je lah, kau dah lagi pro. Okay. Prefer kalau tunjuk AWS lah usage more. Yeah, I guess that's true. Tapi sebab aku banyak pakai Terraform lah. So macam dia dah ni lah. Ada cover assume row tadi. Basic lah. Tak nak bagi lewat-lewat sangat malam-malam esok kerja. Jadi better belajar sekali dengan Terraform lah. Terraform actually like my experience lah. Kalau nak main-main dengan AWS kan, Terraform is really good. And make sure create semua resources pakai Terraform. Sebab nanti bila nak clean balik kan, macam senang lah kau just run tf destroy semua dah clean up, tak payah nak masuk pergi delete satu-satu, lepas tu lupa pula apa benda kan. Macam aku pas ni lah, let me do it now lah. Aku akan delete, all the things pakai ni lah, pakai Terraform lah. Ni akan delete ni dulu, security credential dulu. Recording lah boleh stop lah, tak ada benda ni. Thank you Bel. My user Azhan. This one. Sorry. And share screen. Thank you everyone.